Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Barakaha Gwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Micah chapter 4, verses 1 to 3, which deals with end times prophecy. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains. And in the scriptures, mountains can be symbolic for governments, places of high rulership. And the mountain of the house of Yahweh is, of course, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Israel, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel. At the head of that, the 144,000, the governing body in the mountain of the house of Yahweh. And the kingdom of heaven is going to be on top of all these other mountains, or, heathen nations out here. And it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come, many heathen nations shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people, and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. And do we see this being the case with those people over in the Holy Land right now, calling themselves the children of the Most High? Nations no longer learning war or making weapons, or nations across the planet flowing under those people to learn after their ways, speaking Yiddish, wearing little hats, reading from the Talmud, anything like that? Of course not. So what should that mean? That those people over there aren't the children of the Most High, which they are not, because they do not fit any of the biblical prophecies dealing with what the true children of Israel would be doing back when they were in the Holy Land. The true children of Israel are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, while those people over there right now are of the nation of Esau, Edom, or these so-called white people, more specifically of the tribe of Amalek. And I opened up this video with these verses to preface a few bits of information just to further show that those Amalekite Edomites are imposters and don't fit any of the prophecies dealing with what the true children of Israel would be doing and going through when they were back in the Holy Land. But the first bit of information I'll be going to is on First Post's YouTube channel, and the video is titled, What is Israel's Iron Beam Laser and How Does It Work? Vantage with Palki Sharma. And as we'll see in this clip, the 1948ers over there are instituting a new weapon, a laser-based weapon, to defend them from incoming missiles from Hamas, Hezbollah, or any other enemies. But what did we just read back in Micah chapter 4, verse 3? And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. When the children of Israel were back in the Holy Land, nations wouldn't be fighting against each other anymore, and nations especially wouldn't be fighting against the children of Israel. What does it say in the verse up? That the nations would actually come unto the children of Israel, saying, he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, point blank, period. And as it further says in Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 10, Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yahweh, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. And as it further says in Isaiah chapter 60, and I believe it's in chapter 60 and maybe another verse in 63 or 65, it says, crying or weeping would no longer be heard in the land when the children of Israel were back in there, and violence would no more be heard within their walls. But as we can clearly see, that's not the case with those Amalekite Edomites. You've got new conflicts erupting over there since that October 7th situation with Hamas. Hezbollah's, talking about getting involved. Yemen says they're at war with the 1948ers. You've got Iran in the mix, and World War III hasn't even happened yet. Because again, they are of the nation of Esau, Edom, not of the 12 tribes of Israel, and they fit the prophecies dealing with the Edomites in regards to the Holy Land. This is Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to ask it out, to cast it out for a prey. And when we go into the history of those Amalekite Edomites in regards to the Holy Land, what do we see? Back in the 1800s, I believe, you had these things called aliyahs, which are talking about how the 1948ers need a homeland for themselves in the Holy Land. Around 1917, you had the Balfour Declaration, which involved, I think, Nathaniel de Rothschild and Arthur Balfour, a member of the British government, setting up the groundwork for the Holy Land to be given into the Amalekite Edomites. And then fast forward to 1948 with the how do I want to say this? The ISRAELIS Declaration of Independence and other UN charters, which officially gave that land, appointed that land into their possession. And what happened immediately afterwards, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Then you had the 6 Days War in the 1960s. And then fast forward to today with this new conflict between the 1948ers, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. And again, World War III hasn't even taken place yet. So when the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah is dealing with you, and you can navigate and understand these scriptures, things don't add up with those Amalekite Edomites. But now let's get into this clip. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. This is simply for educational purposes. And let's see how war and violence is no more being heard in the Holy Land.
Now let's talk about another arrival, one that's touted to change warfare as we know it. But first a question. What is the biggest problem with Israel's Iron Dome system? I would argue it's the cost. Each Israeli interceptor missile costs about $50,000. But what if Israel had a cost-effective way to stop the rockets, a way to hit one rocket after another endlessly without having to worry about its expensive interceptors running out? Sounds ideal, right? Well, it may become reality soon because Israel is reportedly rolling out a new defense system. It's the stuff of sci-fi movies. Israel calls it its defensive trump card. It's the Iron Beam anti-missile laser system. Our next report tells you what's the Iron Beam and how it can be a game changer.
Look at this video from last year. That's US President Joe Biden getting ready for a photo shoot. It's at the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. What's all the fuss for? Look at what's above his head. The giant camera lens-like thing. That's the reason for all this excitement. Because it's Israel's ace in the hole. The Iron Beam laser anti-missile system. The ion beam is a technological marvel, the fruit of years of research in high-intensity lasers. It was first unveiled at a Singapore air show in 2014, and after 7 years, it seems to be ready for battlefield action. The system was made for one thing: taking down aerial threats before they hit Israel. First, let's look at its stats. The ion beam reportedly has a range of between 7 to 10 kilometers. Israel has said it can focus the beam to the diameter of a coin within that distance. The ion beam fires lasers that can reach energy levels of about 100 kilowatts. For context, that's about 24 grams of TNT exploding every second, or almost 1.5 kgs of dynamite every minute. That's the amount of energy coming out of the ion beam. All this will be directed at incoming missiles, drones, rockets, and any other aerial threat. Here's a video released by Israel's defense forces last year, showing a successful test of the ion beam. How it works is simple. The laser will be fired at key spots on the incoming projectiles. In missiles, this means the fins, rudder, or the warhead. Damaging the fins and rudder will destabilize the missile's flight path, make it change course. Firing at the warhead could overheat and cripple the detonator, rendering the missile useless. It's similar when engaging with drones. Either ruin the wings or propellers, or fry the camera, leaving the drone operator blind. But this method has a drawback.
Wait a second. When the true children of Israel were back in the land, what did it say? And none shall make him afraid. And Jacob's blessing, wasn't the sword, these weapons out here, but whose blessing was the sword? Esau, Edom's. Read Genesis chapter 27. So things, again, clearly don't add up with you Amalekite Edomites when it comes to biblical prophecy dealing with what the children of Israel would be doing and going through when they were back in the Holy Land. But now let's go to my second bit of information on Reuters.com. And the title of the article is Netanyahu Suspends 1948er Minister Over Gaza Nuclear Comment. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday disciplined a junior member of his cabinet who appeared to voice openness to the idea of the 1948ers carrying out a nuclear strike on Gaza, where the war, but again, I thought the nations beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks and weren't learning war anymore, where the war with Hamas is inflicting a spiraling Palestinian civilian toll. Netanyahu's office issued a statement saying that the minister concerned, Heritage Minister Amihay Eliyahu from a far-right party in the coalition government, had been suspended from cabinet meetings until further notice. And that's another thing. Over in the 1948er state, they've got a parliament and, a government with different laws from the laws, statutes, and commandments in the scriptures. But again, back in Micah chapter 4, verse 2, it said the nations would be learning of the ways of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, the word from the scriptures, not from bills and legislation, that were written up. Asked in a radio interview about a hypothetical nuclear option, Eliyahu had replied, "That's one way." His remark drew swift condemnation from around the Arab world, scandalized mainstream 1948er broadcasters, and was deemed objectionable by a U.S. official. Neither Eliyahu or his party leader are in the streamlined ministerial forum running the Gaza war. Neither would they have inside knowledge of the 1948ers' nuclear capabilities, which it does not publicly acknowledge, or authority to activate them. So with the Freudian slip of this 1948er cabinet minister, he just revealed that they do have nuclear weapons, which has been a thing of contention, whether they have them or whether they don't have them. So here's another clear cut to the 1948ers, threatening violence and threatening to start wars and use weapons, which again, when the true children of Israel were back in the land, there would be no threats of wars or nuclear weapons or anything like that being used. But now I'm going to close it out in 2 Kings chapter 17. I'm going to read verses 23 to 26, which fit you Amalekite Edomites, much more appropriately, dealing with what happens to heathens when they're in the Holy Land and aren't following the laws, statutes, and commandments. This is 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 23. Until Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, speaking of the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, who at this time were rebellious to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai and following after pagan customs and were taken out of the land. As he had said by all his servants, the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day, the northern kingdom being taken out of the Holy Land into the Assyrian Empire, which the groundwork was set by Tiglath-Pileser III and then finished by his son Shalmaneser V. And when you go read in 2nd Esdras chapter 13, after the northern kingdom got out of the Assyrian captivity, they didn't come back to the land of Israel, but they went to Arsarith at the ends of the earth, or America, the Americas today, North, Central, and South America. 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuthath and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim. And that was a practice of the Assyrians. When they would take native peoples out of their lands, they would implant heathens into it. And what do we see with the Holy Land? The UN and America really, with who pulling the strings behind the scenes, the Rothschilds implanted those foreign peoples, those Amalekite Edomites, into the Holy Land and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh sent lions among them, which slew some of the people. And with those Amalekites over there, you've got a large percentage of that population that are atheists. So they clearly don't fear Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And then, the Orthodox ones, what do they follow? The Talmud. They speak Yiddish and have all those contrary practices to the laws, statutes, and commandments. Tel Aviv is also known as Pink City, which is one of the pride hotspots on the planet. They have kosher pork there, feminism, and again, that parliament and government with laws separate from the laws, statutes, and commandments. Verse 26, wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the power of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the power of the land. And we can, as it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, there is no new thing under the sun. You've got heathens in that land right now, not fearing Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai or following after their ways. So what? Violence is getting sent against them. In the past, lions. Today, missiles, T attacks. And again, World War III, nuclear destruction hasn't even taken place yet, which the Holy Land will get hit with nukes during World War III, and it's going to, evict you squatters that don't belong there. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.